Hello everyone, welcome back to our channel. Imagine waking up in the middle of the night. How would you feel if you were unable to move or talk? What if you were stuck there, paralyzed, and you could sense something around you? You see a shadowy figure around, but you're still not able to do anything. All you can do is lie there in fear. Well, this is what people with sleep paralysis experience. In today's video, we're going to explore what exactly this condition is. We'll take a look at theories and legends about sleep paralysis demons across different cultures. Sit back and enjoy as we dive in. Before we go into our explanation, we have a very small request. If you like our content, please support us by subscribing to our channel. This is a small click for you, but for us it means a lot. Thank you, let's begin. What is sleep paralysis? What is the science behind it? Sleep paralysis is a temporary condition that is characterized by an inability to move or sleep. It's something that happens during the transition between sleep and wakefulness. A key difference between this condition and other sleep-related states like dreams or nightmares is that a person is conscious when this is happening. They're awake, just unable to move or respond, which might be terrifying. Now, there are two types of sleep paralysis: isolated and recurrent. Isolated is when it happens without any signs of other sleep disorders, and recurrent is when there are multiple episodes involved. Recurrent sleep paralysis can also be associated with a condition called narcolepsy, where a person tends to have sudden episodes of deep sleep. There are also many cases where the two types occur together, where people have many episodes but no association with narcolepsy. This condition is a minor and common mind-body malfunction that more than 50% of the population have experienced at least once in their lives. This is a condition that is linked to the REM stage of the sleep cycle. It occurs when consciousness is resumed while REM sleep is maintained, and it could lead to intense fear. Evidence suggests that an overlap of REM sleep and wakefulness causes it. It can take place at the beginning or the end of a sleep cycle. This condition has no exact cause, but researchers have linked a few things that could cause it: an inadequate or irregular sleep schedule, substance and alcohol use, traumatic incidents, disorders like narcolepsy, mental conditions like bipolar disorder, anxiety, and PTSD are a few causes that can lead to sleep paralysis. It's also often accompanied by hallucinations. The hallucinations can take different forms. There are visual and auditory hallucinations, where people tend to see and hear things. There are olfactory hallucinations, where people tend to smell imaginary things that are usually unpleasant. The most scary one for me in this list is the tactile hallucinations, where people tend to feel like they're being touched by someone or something. These seem all the more real to people because their brains are active. They're able to see, feel, and hear things, and the fear that they experience because of this makes it worse. These hallucinations generally tend to involve the idea that there's an intruder in the room. Another common hallucination that people experience is what's referred to as the incubus phenomenon, where they tend to feel a pressure on their thorax, leading to feelings of anxiety and suffocation. An episode can last from a few seconds up to a few minutes. It usually tends to end on its own, or when the person is moved or touched by other people. The hallucinations that occur during this do not really have any factual reasoning behind them. It's commonly believed that they reflect dream imagery into the waking consciousness. Sleep paralysis demons across cultures. Sleep demons are a really frightening phenomenon for those who experience sleep paralysis. It's a hallucination that takes different forms for people experiencing this condition, and it instills immense fear in them. These are products of their imagination, not some supernatural entity from outside. The way these demons are perceived by people is very subjective. It is influenced by their own experiences, cultures, and beliefs. These sleep demons have come up across many different cultures and folklore all around the world. They often reflect the regional traditions and beliefs, having their own variations. Let us take a look at a few of these stories from around the world. The term mare, from nightmare, comes from an Old Norse word mara, an entity that walks on people's chests as they sleep, causing them nightmares. The old hag, or a night hag, from Anglophone North American and English folklore, is a similar nightmare spirit. The person could wake up and be unable to breathe or move around when the old hag sat on their chest. We now call this sleep paralysis, but people experiencing this were considered to be hag-ridden, and it was regarded as something paranormal. The old hag is supposed to be a witch-like, withered old woman with long hair. Some accounts even say that she would whisper threats to their victims, increasing their fear. She's a very prominent figure in Newfoundland folklore. Many of its early settlers came from Scotland, England, and Ireland, where witches were a huge part of the culture. Kanashibari is the Japanese word that refers to sleep paralysis. Kana refers to metal, and shibaru means to bind. The word means to be bound with metal chains, to be immobilized. According to Japanese folklore, this condition is like a premonition. It happens when a person is about to come in contact with a supernatural being. The word comes from a Japanese spell, a kind of paralysis magic that priests practiced. The spell was most often used to expel an evil entity. The earliest record of people experiencing kanashibari in Japan dates back to the 12th century. Emperor Konoe Tonno is said to have experienced the sensation of his chest being compressed every night that even the holiest monks could not relieve. There are also some stories that believe this condition comes from possession. If a person is possessed by some entities, one symptom that they could have is this. According to folklore, ghosts, priests, and sorcerers are also capable of causing these. Karabasan is another creature from the Turkish folklore that's associated with causing sleep paralysis. There's no clear definition of what the Karabasan is or what it looks like. The only thing we know is that it is a supernatural creature. People have mentioned seeing this creature as someone they know or someone ugly looking. This indicates that the creature is associated with having some kind of human form. Some people have also attributed their sleep paralysis to a jinn, known as Jinn al-Kabuz. Sleep paralysis has also been seen as a condition that happens due to people neglecting their religious duties. A case study of a 21-year-old woman who experienced Karabastan shows that she believed the event was a punishment because she neglected her namaz. The Batibat from Ilocano folklore, or the Bangungo from Tagalong folklore, is a vengeful demon. It takes the form of a female tree spirit, and it comes in contact with humans when the tree they live in is cut. It then inhabits what's left of their tree. It does not let humans sleep near it. If they do, it attacks them by suffocating them, invading their dreams and causing sleep paralysis. In pop culture, this creature appears in The Chilling Adventures of Sabrina, where it tortures the Spellman family in their dreams. The Phaiyam is another ghost from Thailand associated with the condition who has the same story. When the victim is asleep, she sits on their chest or sometimes their liver. Interestingly, in some versions of the story, she only attacks men. She's referred to as the widow ghost. So those who believe in her existence put on lipstick before sleeping to deceive her. The pisadeira from Brazilian folklore is considered the personification of nightmares. She's said to be a thin woman with long dirty nails. She has short legs, a big hairy nose, and green teeth. Her eyes are red and wide, and her fingers are long and dry. She has a high-pitched laugh, and her mouth is always open. Pisadeira observes the movement in houses by spending time on roofs. When people sleep with a full stomach, she steps on their chest while they're paralyzed and conscious of everything. The interesting fact about all these stories about sleep demons is that despite their different points of origin, they all tend to be very similar. Myths originate because we want an explanation for things we don't understand. So it's possible that the reason these stories are similar is that they're all trying to find a way to explain sleep paralysis and what causes it. It is through these stories that people try to make sense of what's happening to them. Cultures heavily influence these sleep demons. People from different cultures tend to incorporate their own experiences in their hallucinations. What they see, what they hear, and the culture that they live in, and the stories they've listened to growing up all tend to play a role in how their hallucinations manifest. Theories of origin. The concept of the nightmares seems to emerge from the myth of the incubus. The word originates from Latin and translates to sit on. The most famous representation of this was painted by artist Henry Fuseli in the 1781 painting titled The Nightmare. The incubus is probably the first documented explanation of sleep paralysis. As we've already discussed, the forms that these creatures take are influenced by the person's subconscious. Their life experiences, their culture, all of these play a role in the forms these demons take. There are some theories that suggest that this has to do with the fact that your sense of self is completely disrupted. When you experience sleep paralysis, you lose that feeling of being anchored in your body, and you have that kind of out-of-body experience that makes you think that anything around you is a supernatural creature out to get you. When you're lying there, completely scared and trying to understand what's happening, the fear center in your brain gets activated. When that happens, even the most normal things around you start to seem ominous. Your brain starts mixing up things with terrorizing folklore that you've heard of before, and that could just as easily manifest in these sleep demons. Trauma and anxiety can also play a role in extending this. When you're stuck there, unable to move, your fear and anxiety make these hallucinations even worse. Going to bed in a state of anxiety or fear could make the emotional part of your brain hyperactive and lead you to sleep paralysis. People who have experienced traumatic events in their lives, people who have been displaced, been at war, or have PTSD could all have their trauma follow them in their dreams. Many scholars also believe that claims of alien abductions could be related to sleep paralysis. People might not be aware of the condition enough to understand what's happening to them, but if they've heard of other things like alien abductions or supernatural creatures, they could just relate their experiences to seeing ghosts or being abducted. People from different cultures have different experiences. Aliens are a huge part of American folklore, and it seems more likely for people to resort to that as an explanation, rather than things like hags or jinns that could be unfamiliar to them. Here again, the environment that these people grew up and lived in seems to affect the different theories. Marvelous verdict. With that, guys, we've come to the end of another marvelous video. We've explored a lot of folklore related to sleep paralysis demons. I'm sure every culture has their own version of these stories. Have you come across anything from your culture that we've not mentioned here? Are there any differences in stories from your culture? If you're someone who's experienced sleep paralysis, did you have hallucinations? What did you see? Let us know your thoughts in the comments section below. Please remember to like, share, and subscribe to our channel for more interesting content. Thank you for watching.